All right, and welcome to Heller Barnes. And today we have a killer show because Ray is back with us. We had him in about a couple months ago, and we had a tech problem and something on my end that I
No.
couldn't solve in real time, and it is fixed. So, Johnny, how you doing? Ray, how you doing?
Happy to be here. Hi.
Johnny.
I'm doing well. I've got oh, Joanna said, "Is there a link? Isn't it posted all over the place?
Yeah,
The
it's
link to this? Yeah. Yeah, look at my workshop. It's there. Yeah, that's better than texting her back. Just yell. Say, I have an iPhone. I can text her.
Yeah, text you take forever,
Hey.
so.
And I had something
Hey,
fascinating.
anybody else send me a question? I'll yell the answer.
I had someone call me on the phone the other day, and I remember thinking, "Hey, this actually works pretty well." I don't. I hear this piece of plastic can do these things, but I hadn't done them. So it was interesting to
Well,
have that happen.
what's weird, we fellas are of an era and age where we still use our phone to call people.
Yep.
You know, I still call people and I still get, "Why didn't you text me?"
Yeah.
And I think, well, you know, it's a phone. It's called an iPhone. And I know that I'm supposed to text because God forbid you get interrupted in your day with someone chatting with you. But it's still I'm trying to switch the go-to from calling Don to just texting Don. That way people like text because they can ignore you easier.
Well, and I complained for the
Exactly.
next 4 days to everybody I know that Johnny called me. No, somebody else called me, and because that worked, I called somebody else because I had a question for them, and then I thought to myself, you know what? That worked if that person called me, and so I'm going to start a whole new movement here where I call
Of
everybody.
of calling people on the phone?
Yeah.
Alexander Graham Bell will be shocked. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so the question will be for how did you meet Ray? You've known him like 3 weeks, is it now?
You know what? I'll be honest with you. Now, let's see. I'm trying to think now. Ray's been a New England narrator retreat 2 or 3 times.
Twice.
2?
Twice, yeah.
Twice.
Yeah.
He was in New Orleans with us. Was that last year?
It was.
That was fantastic.
That was great.
And I knew him before that, so I guess we met. Was that what it was? Here in New York at the
You had a couple workshops with Sean and with Paul, and I come anytime you throw something up that's not in Philadelphia, I come.
Yeah. When there's a lot of people who I know, and many of whom become friends, but I rarely remember how I met everybody. It's just I just can't. I just I don't remember meeting Ray. I just don't remember.
Yeah.
I don't remember not knowing Ray. I mean, I have known him 30 years. But I've known him 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
And you become friends, and you forget about. Remember when you were a little kid and you moved to a new town and you saw some other little kid in the street and you said, "Hey, you want to be friends?" And they said, "Sure." And that's how you met. And that's pretty much how I still do it.
I called him on the phone though.
Yeah. I text him. I look at him. I go, just, "Hey, what's your number?" And they text it. And I text. You want to be friends?
I think I went way old school. I think I emailed you the first time.
Oh my goodness! Yeah, I posted you a note. Yeah.
But yeah, this is my second year at Neener, and first off, thank you and Joanna for pulling that off again. It's such a special event. It's really cool, and this was my second year in a row, so I was much more relaxed this year and not so worried about who am I going to meet, impressing casting directors or whatever. I was just like chill, just embracing being in this community of narrators, and it was so fun to just sit around and chat during meals and stuff, and it was just it's a great event. So thank you.
Yeah, for those of you in the audience who Neener is the New England Narrator Retreat that Joanna and I have been running for. We just came back from our 10th year anniversary event. We'll be doing it again next year. To be honest, we weren't sure. We said, "Geez, how's this going to go?" Because you think, you're doing it 10 years. Can it keep going? Can it be better? Are people sick of seeing Don Baarns? And they are. But we figured it really went so well, and it was just a real tonic for the soul of everybody. It was Don had a Don. Do you have is there a time that's better? Was it better than last time? I mean, do you have those kind of feelings?
Well, and also I think you happened to do it a week or two earlier, and the weather was fine. So I mean, it just the thing that fascinates me is how many people come back. So Ray was there 2 years in a row. I think I've been there 4 or
And
5
I'm a
years in a
newbie.
row. And the thing that's but it's a commitment. You know, everyone's taking off 4 days of their life to be there by the time you do the travel on both ends of the. So to have so many people come back each time is just one of those little indicators in life that it was worth it. I mean, I'll do anything once, sort of, within reason. Um, and that's a pretty big window, by the
Yeah,
way.
yeah. I'll send you a
But
list, see if you do it.
so if somebody does something once and they invest all that time and energy to get there and stuff, and then they do it again next year, and then they do it again another year, and then you kind of say, oh, well, there's something there because nobody had to come back a second time.
Yeah.
And the fact that somebody makes that decision to do that just says that's the biggest indicator for it. Now, it would be the same as you hire me to do a book. I would like the awards. Okay, I want to get lots of awards. I need more awards. But if I don't get the awards, the real award is, do they call us back? Or maybe they text us and they say, will you do this next book for me? Will you do this book? And they
Yeah.
start recommending you to other authors.
Yeah, we talked at the Neener, and we'll bring up everything Ray's been doing. We'll get into awards and other stuff. But one of the things we discussed, as I remember, I know Sean did a session on the art of no, and people ask, when do you negotiate a higher rate, et cetera, et cetera. And I'll say from right now that I'm doing a book right now that I just got from Simon and Schuster, and it wasn't from Hannah, it was from someone else. And here's what happens: you do a book. I did this exact title years ago for Tantor, and I guess whatever contract they have, the book gets pulled. Now, if Ray does a book, John does a book, Don, we don't know how long it goes. We get, here's your 10-hour book, here's, 2,000, whatever you make, here's your money. And then we don't really think about it again, unless it's a royalty share, we think about it, or unless you get an award for it, et cetera, et cetera. You don't think about it. So I didn't know that the book had ceased to be available. And that's happened to a lot of books. I know my friend Scott Brick's going to be doing MASH, a book I did years ago. My version is gone, and it makes sense that they're going to do it again. Maybe they want somebody else. But this book, I'm just going to bring it up because it's interesting. Do you remember the Netflix series called it's called Hollywood, and it's based on the book Full Service by Scotty Bowers. Scotty Bowers was a Marine came to Hollywood in the 40s after the war, handsome buck, and worked at a gas station and was basically a Hollywood pimp. All his friends, his Marine buddies, and their girlfriends would hang around the gas station because soda pop, late night, nothing else to do. And Hollywood moguls and actors and studio execs and makeup people would come there, straight, gay, everything, and they'd use Scotty to hook him up with his friends. So it's really pretty raunchy, raw sex stuff, which is not my speed. So when I got the call, I said, I already did this book. Do they want me? And apparently his estate wants me to do it again. I think it's funny because it's really dirty. In the first 5 pages, see, one of the things that happens is he says about all the sex stuff he did. And everybody he had sex with in the book is dead by the time he wrote the book. So I can tell you about the sex I had with Ray Conley as soon as Ray's dead, because he can't. So apparently, in the first 5 pages, he's getting a fellatio from Walter Pigeon. Now, I'm not saying he didn't. I don't know Walter Pigeon that well, but Walter can't say. The whole book is that. So I'm pretty excited about this title. I wanted to do it again because I've always remembered. It's not my speed at all, but I've always remembered it because it's literally the dirtiest book I've ever done.
Right, but it's cool that the state wanted you to do it again. So that's a weird thing, but it's what we hope happens in a shorter time frame, right?
Oh yeah. Well, I will say they offered. I asked for more money than they offered, and they said it's just not in the budget for this book, and we discussed that in New England. I said, I understand, and not every book has that kind of budget. It doesn't have the budget. So I basically said, I'm not going to play diva with you. I'd rather work at this rate than, not work at my rate.
Right.
And so they were very understanding, and I'm certain I'll get other books. And I believe if your per hour rate is not ridiculous, they'll try and match it.
Yeah.
And they'll try and be there for you. If it's not in the budget, it's not in the budget.
Yeah. Yeah.
But after that, I went a long way around to get to that salient point. But most I wanted to tell you about the dirty book I'm doing.
Well, now you've had a chance probably when you did it the first time, you had never experienced any of those situations. So now
I came running out of the booth 1,000 times, Joanna, and I tell her these horrible stories about this Hollywood. We may have just seen the guy in Turner Classic Movies. Then you watch the movie again, you're going,
yeah.
That
I do think living here in SoCal, when you know some of these people in the business, you sometimes think, now I don't want to watch their movie, or now it's
oh yeah,
it's easier to not know an actor in a sense personally, because sometimes it depends on the circumstance. So
oh
it goes
God,
both
yeah.
ways. Some people you meet and you go, now I want to watch all their stuff. And sometimes you meet them and you think, wow, you're a great actor because you're kind of a rear end in person.
When I was out there tending bar at all these Hollywood parties, and I was in LA, and I met a lot of people.
Yeah.
They were interesting, to say the least.
Yeah. And I played all sorts of gigs as a young man, and we would, I'm in my 20s, and we would show up at this mansion and we would play. And it's like, oh gosh, I recognize, 10 people here from the business. And it's like, they're people. They're just normal
Yes.
people. And,
Yeah.
when you see them outside of their work, they're having fun or they're not, or anyway. So
it occurs to me we haven't asked Ray anything, so we should talk to him since he's
I'm
here.
just listening. I'm just here to listen.
So Ray, tell us, how did you get, what did you do before audiobooks, and how'd you get into audiobooks? Give us a Conley history.
Sure. I worked in television. I was a video editor for 31 years at ABC, and then I went freelance after they decided I was expendable. And
after 31 years, you were expendable?
Oh yeah, I was making too much money, so so I went freelance, which was a great move because you make more money freelance than you do on staff. But also I got to sort of steer my career in the direction I wanted to go, which was long form and documentaries. And I always loved the storytelling parts of editing more than anything else. I mean, I could do all the special effects and the whiz bang and whatever, but I really enjoyed telling the stories. So I did that, but I'd always wanted to do something with my voice. I went to college for radio broadcasting, for those of us who remember when radio was a thing, and thought I would, do something like that. And had I not gotten the job at ABC, I was up for a job at a 5,000 watt radio station in Augusta, Maine. So it would have been a very different career and life trajectory. So a friend of mine who was a producer on one of the soap operas, One Life to Live, knew that I had aspirations to do something with my voice. So he called me one day and said, "Hey, we need a voice of a newscaster in a box off screen for one of the shows. Would you like to do it?" So
those are the days of under fives, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Explain
So
what's an under five?
Under five is it's a glorified extra. You get more than an extra. An extra in a commercial you can do all right. You have 5 lines or less. They call it under 5, and there was a class they did.
It's a category.
Yeah, soap operas were big in New York, and you could do you could be a priest one day and a photographer the next week. That's what I was. Yeah.
Yep. And so I did that recurringly enough times that I actually got my AFTRA card. This was before SAG-AFTRA merged.
Yeah.
So I got my my AFTRA card, which became a SAG-AFTRA card when they merged, which was a really cool thing. I always say that laid the groundwork for my my career with a face made for radio. And so I did that. And the other thing I did was when I was at ABC, I did a lot of I worked for sports for the last 10, 12 years that I was there, doing teases for college football and figure skating and just everything that they did. And so when we would edit, we would have to have a scratch track to edit by.
Right.
And then the announcer would swoop in at the last minute and actually voice it. So because I had some interest in it, I always tried to do the scratch tracks as if I was doing it for real. So had a lot of fun with that, and learned a lot and made friends with some of the announcers there, and got some feedback. And one day the producer of we were working on the spelling bee. We used to air the National Spelling Bee on ABC.
Yeah.
It was a big thing. And the producer came and said, "Hey, would you go down to audio sweetening and revoice that last line?" I'm like, "It's a scratch track." Like, what? And he's like, "No, I'm going to use it." And so he aired. I guess I probably should have gotten SAG-AFTRA rates for that, but I don't think I did. But they aired it on ABC and ESPN, and that was my big claim to fame. And then another thing I was doing later on, just a couple of years ago, I was an editor and a producer on a film about autism that aired on PBS. And when it came time to air, the one of the principals in the film had actually done the disclaimers and the stuff at the top where
legal schmeagle stuff.
The major funding for this program was provided by and PBS has a rule that you can't be in the film and do that.
Oh,
so it fell to me at the last second, so I got to do and viewers like you. Thank you.
nice.
So I've gotten like little snippets of here and there, and then the editing work just kind of died a natural death a couple of years ago. I've been the oldest guy in the room for 20 years of my editing career, and I don't know what it is. I think it was COVID and everything else after that. But I finally said, well, I got some time on my hands now. I can devote to trying to make a voiceover acting career, and learn how to do it right, and spend the time doing it right. And so my wife had gotten me I think she won a free lesson with Paul Liberty. Who,
Oh yeah, Paul. Sure, yeah.
He's an actor and a voice actor and all kinds of stuff. He works for Actors Connection a lot of times. So I got a free session with him. So I went and did that, and then took another couple of classes, and was kind of like, audiobooks is the thing that interests me the most. This is kind of like a cool niche thing. Let me see if I can do it.
Well, that's
Wow,
great.
that was a long-winded answer to your question.
I don't remember the question
reclaiming my time.
Yeah, I asked what time it was, so I don't know what's going on. Yeah.
So what genres make you happy?
Kind of the genres that I like reading are the ones that I've been gravitating towards. Science fiction, literary fiction, fantasy, space opera stuff, that kind of thing. But interestingly, I've been thinking about that a lot lately for a variety of reasons that we'll probably get into. But I feel like I need to focus on maybe what genres I'm hireable for, as opposed to just the ones that I want to do. And that's not saying abandon those, but kind of get some feedback to work on that.
Let's talk about that. Let's delve into that for just a second, because you made some interesting points. And I'd like to stick with that for a sec. I think it's important, particularly when starting out in this industry, that you go for, at least to start with, what you like. There are so many things you don't know yet, so many things you learn, and so many things you'll get better at. It's nicer to do it in a genre that you're comfortable in, so that's not another issue, because things will come up. Oh my gosh! So if I always tell my students, when you go to the bookstore or library, where do your feet take you? Because whether you think about it or not, you instinctively, you just go. You walk into Baarns-Audiobook, and it's all this little, here's theater, here's whatever history, about whatever, your feet, you walk to where you want to go. And even if you don't think about it, you look up, where are you? If you're looking at mysteries, think about that, because that tells you that's what you want to do. And I think it's good to work in those areas. And as you said, very wisely, Ray, then you start thinking, okay, I do like this stuff, I can do this stuff, but where is the best chance for me to get hired? And all three of us guys, we have all different sounds and tones and different things. I'm always a little wary of specializing too soon in your career. Because if you're the science fiction guy, they might not think about you for the West. You know J. Rodney Turner?
Yeah.
You know him?
I do.
J. Rodney Turner is a big, he's a big tough guy. He's just a delightful human being, but he's got your kind of deep, dark, gravelly kind of sound. But he does Westerns. He has that feel. He's a real, and when you listen to him, you go, that's got to be great. You hear he'd be good at Westerns. Now he could do other stuff. I'm sure he does. But I think I think he found his niche. I think for you can find your niche, and I think you've settled on some of those things and other things you might be hireable for. I'm just listening to your sound when you talked about the video engineering and all that kind of video editing and things. It was educational and informative, and it was a great nonfiction read. So I thought right away, Ray would be great at how-tos. Ray would be great and give me like a college professor's book on whatever it is. Those are definite niches you should investigate. There's all kinds of university press that you should investigate because you would be great at it right away. But I see Sherry Galpert's comment. Look, people go to bookstores. There's a big Barnes & Noble up the street, and now the Shakespeare Books is reopening all over the place.
Are they?
Yeah, there's a Shakespeare Books. There was a Strand. No, I lied. They changed. Shakespeare sold a Strand. The Strand is everywhere. I meant the Strand, which is a great bookstore.
Absolutely.
People love bookstores, plain and simple. And I don't think they're ever. I like the mom and pop. I always tell Joanna that if we retire, we should just go somewhere and get a bookstore / coffee shop and solve murders in the small town we're living in.
Excellent. Yeah. I can see Joanna doing that.
Totally. Oh, yeah, me too. In a heartbeat. So JoJo's Books and Murder.
What do they cast you for now? I mean, most of the things you're doing, you end up in sci-fi. You end up in.
Well, I've actually done a little bit of. I've done some sci-fi, some fantasy. I've done a Western. I've done some literary fiction, some sort of AI centered alternate universe kind of stuff. And so most of the work that I've gotten so far, well, all the work I've gotten so far has been out of ACX. And so I've sort of been able to audition for whatever I want, right? Obviously. Yeah. But even in the 2 years or so that I've been doing that, I think ACX has changed a lot in the last couple of years.
Yes.
So I decided to try to actually make some money at this endeavor rather than spending money to narrate books. So I decided I would switch from the royalty share model to which has been some good training and some good books. I was really pleased with a couple of books I've done on there, and I may look back in 10 years and say, well, but for now I like them.
Well, let's talk about marketing too, because you just came home from meeting 4 big time publishers at Neener, which you had a chance to sit and have lunch and deal. Have you reached out to any of them yet since you've been back?
I have, and one interesting thing that happened at Neener, you luck of the draw, you sit next to a casting agent or something at lunch or something, or they happen to be in the room when you're reading, so you might listen to them. And I knew Rin from the year before and met some of the other people, but of all things, the Listener's Lounge played a big role in my weekend or my week there. I got up to do a thing and was much more relaxed about it this year than last. Like I got impressed. So I just was doing my thing and I had a good piece and got laughs and applause, and producers came up to me afterwards and said that was really great, and one of them I had met before and one of them I had not, and so I got to build on that relationship with them there, and and that was
outstanding.
invaluable. That was,
Yeah, yeah,
organic, and beautiful. Um, one of the things that I had somebody go through my business completely, for a look see and sort of an evaluation, and you know that and plus just sitting around at Neener and talking with my fellow narrators. You get into conversations over meals about, hey, how's the year going for you, or you got anything interesting going on lately, um, and I didn't have nearly as many as, let's say, some of the other people I was sitting with, Maria McCann and other people. Um, and you know, we were talking about it, and of course, everybody's very supportive and helpful. But there were, I think it was Maria that said, have you been doing your reach outs?
yeah.
And I've been neglecting that part, the business part of my career, because I've been focused on the narrating piece and performance and getting, I mean, all interesting and necessary pieces. But if you're not doing your reach outs, you're basically talking to yourself in a box, and who cares how good you are, because
They
nobody's
don't
going to
know it.
know.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, Ray, one of the things you must have issues with. I mean, those of you who don't know Ray, you see him here and he's chatting because he and I are friends, and Don, we're all friends. But Ray's a shy man, and I don't think when you meet it, I think of you as a little introverted and a little shy, and it doesn't come out that much. But when you pull him out of his shell, does so many wonderful things, and you have to unlock that a little bit. And the fact that 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 Maria said, "Hey, do the reach outs." It's important, especially now you have people to reach out to. And I will suggest to you, since you've been focusing on, let's say, sci-fi and whatever, and say you can send a note to Rin or someone you met and say, I've been doing a lot of this, so I'd really like to have a shot at motivational books, how-to books, or whatever it is you want. Just give them a couple of genres, and because what happens is I've been doing a lot of Westerns, but I'd really like to try my hand at a romantasy. Okay, whatever you pick. And all that little seed sits, and they go, then he might. I hadn't thought about that, because they being the publishers and the casting people are always looking for somebody new, a little different thing, because you never know who the next great narrator author series matchup is going to be, and they're always have it in their mind. So if you say, yeah, and they will not say, Ray says, I really think I'd like to get into books about the supernatural and demons. Well, I don't know if you know Joe Hempel, but you'd be great at horror books. I don't know if you've worked with him or not. His stuff is royalty share, but not only is he one of my favorite human beings, but it's a great company he's got, and you should be doing that. So when you start, just don't throw the seeds all over the place. Pick one or two genres that you're not doing that much that you think you want to do, and let them know you want to do it. And I'm telling you, you put that out in the universe, you get it. And I also recommend you write down these goals, some of these. Every month you can do it, every 2 months. You can set up your own schedule. Here's my 2-month goal, and 5 things even, but attainable things, not bullshit things you're never going to get. Like I'm not going to win the marathon this next week, mostly because I'm not even entered. But aside from that, I'd have a good shot, I think. Yeah.
Short legs,
But that
have to move faster,
yeah.
And
the first 15.
And conversely, I mean, I've had conversations with casting directors who have suggested, hey, I'd really like to hear you do a noir, or your voice really sits well in the space for romance, if you want to try that. And so, I follow up on those, and hey, I'm willing to read the phone book for you.
If you're interested in romance, you'd be great at it. You've got that deep voice that people seem to really enjoy in that genre.
Yeah. And I know that, this is a long game, and I'm meeting these people and sending out these reach outs and stuff, and maybe nothing's going to, come of it for, a while. But that's okay. I'm just realizing how important it is just to keep at it, and to, I don't want to say it's just a numbers game, but it's partly a numbers game.
Mm-hmm.
And, reaching out to the casting agents I've met, and filling out all the portals and things that which I've done. It's for other people that are early in their careers like me. I mean, it's hard to do those reach outs, especially cold reach outs. I have a colleague who is in the fundraising field, and he talks about how when you go to pick up that telephone to make the follow-up call, it weighs 40 pounds, and that's a really hard thing to do. And it's similar with emails and stuff, but it's such a critical part of the business. I mean, it's not just about a performance or a voice. It's about relationships, like every business is, or most. And you build those, and then you get opportunities.
Yep. And one of the things that's critical, though, or good for you, you've met you really start with the people you already know and make sure that those reach outs are occurring. The people you met at Neener, when you contact them again and you say, hey, we met at this event, because they may not remember me, by the way, 2 months later, because they've talked to 400 people. So when you remind them, yeah, hey, we talked about your cats at Neener, they're going to remember you. And that's a huge leg up. At least you want to be on their mind, so that when a book comes in your category, that you're one of the people they think of. Because, I mean, they have so many hundreds of people reaching out to them every month, that to remember me, if they met me once, no.
Yeah.
But if you remind them, hey, we met at this, beat the heck out of those.
You can even say, I did that reading. I did the reading at Listeners Lounge about to whatever that.
Absolutely not shy about doing that, because it's that made an impression.
Yeah.
So certainly got to follow up on that.
Yeah, and for those of you watching and sending in your questions, and please do so. A couple of things. One is, Ray's newer. Yeah, how many books have you done? Maybe
I've done like 10.
Yeah, so Ray's newer, and I'm telling you, at least Neblin at Neener, I used her when she said, I've only done a few, and I excoriate her for saying only a few books here and there.
Yes.
Look, when you do your first book, you've only done one. It doesn't mean there's not 999 on the horizon. It's not a sprint. It is a marathon. You got to spend the time, and you don't know when all of a sudden Ray Conley's the new go-to guy for whatever it is. 5-6 years ago, maybe, all this fantasy lit RPG stuff. I don't know how much of that was being done. I don't know when that started. And now there's romantasy, which is fantasy romance, which is a new genre, basically, or newer. And there's always new stuff, because creative artists are constantly creative. And if you can stay on top of that, then that's another lesson. And Ray, you should too. Pay attention to authors. Get book lists, get Publishers Weekly, see what's coming out. Find the books. Sleuthy.com, that who does Sleuthy? Holloman, I think. I have to look up who does it. That tells you books that don't have narrators attached yet. Service you pay for. It's worth it, because you reach out. Don's got a new book. He doesn't ever, and he said, I didn't think about audiobooks. Ray said, well, I'd be perfect to do it for you. You see, I cannot tell you how many books I get because of the relationship I have with the authors.
Right.
Once and that's because, as you met Don in New England, and as you met Rin in New England, and Sherry Galpert in New England, all this, you get to know who they are. And when let's say Don does something, because Ray would be great for this, and Sherry thinks this isn't right. I get sent sometimes book offers or books that aren't even for a mail. So I said, well, I can't do this. So this community is one that's welcoming and helpful consistently. And the more you're a part of it, and the more you do, the more you put out there, the better chance for some kind of happy return, as long as you don't suck. That's an important point. And you do not, my friend. You've gotten better and better and better all the time, because you're working.
Oh,
here it is. Get Sleuthy. There it is. Yeah, that's that. There's a lot of value in these things. There's a lot of people who have already there aren't a lot of new problems. There's just new solutions. And I think a lot of people have seen these problems and come up with creative ways to handle them, whatever they may be. And one of the things, the biggest problem isn't how to get the right sound in your booth or the right microphone or anything. It's generally how to get work.
Yeah.
That's what people want. How
Yep.
to get work. And that's what, and part of this, as Don says time and again, and he says it, people showing up to things like Neener, people going, and not just to a week away, but just a day-long workshop with somebody.
Yeah.
It shows
Yeah.
some dedication.
It also sometimes you reap unexpected benefits. One of the workshops that you did with I think with Sean that I went to, and I'm working, not having a singing or acting background. I'm working on breath control,
Right.
which I know I need to work on, because sometimes I'll pause in the middle of a long sentence at a place that maybe isn't ideally,
Yes.
to do that. So, I've listened to Don's, breath control course, which I recommend. Quick
It's a free
plug there.
video, yeah.
But in your class, I met a guy, Voss, who's an actor and a singer, and we were talking at lunch, and I was telling him, about my breath issues and how that must having being trained as a singer probably really helps
Yeah.
helps that a lot when in any other discipline you go to. And he offered to sort of coach me on it, and took some half a day out of his day to teach me some things and show me some breath things that so that was an unexpected
wonderful.
gift from one of those workshops. So
Yep.
like Don says, showing up, you never know what's going to happen.
I'll add this. I said a newer actor or older actor out there, in terms not age but in terms of experience, I always recommend Shakespeare. Study Shakespeare. Do Shakespeare. Do some Shakespeare. You'll learn breath control. You'll learn beats. You'll learn measures. You learn everything you need to know. For some reason, is in Shakespeare. Is particularly breath control, because those in the iambic pentameter, there's certain breaks and certain breaths that have to be taken. And Shakespeare writes in a way that leaves you the place for the breaths, and it lets you know later when you're doing Chekhov, Neil Simon, anybody, that all of a sudden here's where the breaks are, and you'll be in what, and also what you're learning, Ray, about that is new to you. The same way that if I learn to read music, it'll be new to me, but eventually it becomes instinctive, becomes immediate, becomes natural. And that's what'll happen. All the questions you have that are problematic now, if you work on the problems, the problems go away. And the answer that we always say, I don't know what to do. Yes, you do. You always do. You just don't do it, but it's always there. And Don didn't know how to keep a beat with the drum until he learned how to keep a beat with the drum. Now it's instinctive. He does it. It's automatic. It's not even a thought process. It just happens. That happens with so much of the things that give Ray and newer narrators the heebies and the jeebies. You just get right by it. It works.
Most people don't practice enough, by the way.
In general, yes.
I mean, about anything. So I have a pickleball friend that he got me a little sticker that says, "Nobody cares. Practice more." Okay. And I just thought, he's right. And every time I see him, I think, I'm not telling him, I was busy this weekend. My mom had this. I felt terrible. It's just like, either play, and what I don't like about my playing, practice more, practice more, practice more. So a lot of this stuff still comes down to, I think the head knowledge is easier to get than the actual experience doing. And we have to always be educating and meeting people, and then we have to be doing. And I think you are so smart, Ray, if you don't have something from a publisher, then go out to ACX and get as many as you can so that you can practice, because you have to perform a lot to be a good performer. It just doesn't work any other way unless you had some background. All right, I didn't do Shakespeare, so if you did Shakespeare when you were younger, and then you can bring that experience to this. But you just bring other experiences to it, that while an actor has one set of skills, you bring something else to it. So it works both ways.
In fact, on that score, something I've been thinking about lately is because I had a bio on my website, and everybody comes to this profession from a different background, right? Some have acting training, some have technical training, some have no training, whatever. so I came to it with my editing skills and my editing experience. So I put that, have that on my website as because that's what I've done. Um, and then, somebody said to me, well, you got to connect that to your narrating experience. Like,
Yeah.
otherwise, it's just like sitting out there. Like,
Yeah.
how does that inform what you're doing now? And I thought that was really brilliant. And I had talked about how being an editor for so long um, got me used to the rhythms of speech, the cadence of speech, how people actually speak, and that became ingrained and inherent, right? So that's one thing that I've sort of taken around away from that. But the other thing that I've been thinking about lately is really interesting is so I think from the first time I met Johnny, and even before that, when I was just researching, like, what's an audiobook narrator do? Coaches always implore you to listen to audiobooks. Seems like a no-brainer. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Not only to see what the market's like, but just to, that's the genre you want to be in. You got to listen. Well, how do I take something away from that and put it into practice? Because just listening to Johnny Heller read a book, well, I don't have Johnny Heller's voice or acting experience or attitude. So it's useful to me, but only to a certain point. And listening to other narrators who maybe are more in my same wheelhouse is helpful too. But like, then how do I actualize that? Like, what do I take from that? And what I started to think about was so being an editor in a way kind of ruined films and television for me as a viewer because I can't just watch them and get absorbed. I mean, I still do
Yeah.
sometimes get absorbed and swept along, but mostly I'm thinking like, how is this structured? Like, why are these scenes shaped the way they are? Why is he making that decision to put that there, to do that? And so you're looking at it sort of you're sussing out the nuances of it and the technical parts of it. Um, and I hope that, and I think that that attitude is starting to ruin audiobooks for me in the same way, in the best way. Because instead of just listening to the story, and I'm listening a lot, but like, how did the narrator choose to voice this female character
Well,
versus what I would do? What techniques are they using to create tension, or how even how are they signaling the end of a chapter without doing, what I mean?
but in your editing experience, because you see it all the time, you're not just editing the film. There's actors' choices
Right.
and directorial choices given to the actors, and you're seeing all that. That has to be somewhere in your sense memory now, because you've worked all those years. You can pull that in.
Exactly. And it was kind of like editing, or like I mean, even drumming, whatever. You learn the techniques, right? And you get them so ingrained in your head that you're not thinking about how to do
Right.
a
Yes, you're
certain
just
thing.
doing.
Right.
You're just thinking about what choice you want to make and how you're going to do it.
Yep.
And so, sometimes I'll find myself listening to an audiobook in the car by myself, and I'll be listening with that critical ear and sort of repeating those same lines that the author's doing, especially if it's an author that's or a narrator that's kind of close to what I do. And I would sometimes, listen and then pause it and then repeat those lines, or more often I'll repeat the lines like a second behind the narrator,
Right.
kind of like a sight reading or a cold
Yeah,
reading thing. And it's really interesting to see, what choices are being made, what options for choices there are, and how
So-
I would do it, and maybe what better choices that I could make in the future. I don't know.
So sometimes I might walk through the park when I'm listening to books. I'll hear someone and I'll do something. I'll go, no, why? Why did you do that?
You're not
Your
talking
brain
about the
works.
heroine, huh? Or you just like,
Don, can you highlight this? I can't see the similar to raise. Let's see, Victor. When you
So
start working,
when you do start to work consistently, is there a matrix for scheduling, bringing in the work? When the offer happens, they send some dates and you have to coordinate your workflow?
That's one of the things that I've been advised to structure a little bit better. Right now, I just basically have a, you know, a notebook, and I just write them all down, and when I start the project, and as I go along, how many hours I did, and when I finish it, and when I sent the first 15, all that stuff. Um, and I've been advised to get something more along the lines of a I don't know there's an acronym, CRM.
Yeah, CRM, contact management, or contact relationship management.
Yeah, that I guess I should learn what it means so I can
Okay.
employ it.
Yeah, get on that.
Yeah. I'm sure Johnny has one.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, those tools can help, and you do want to have some, but having something is the starting point and the actual key. First off, watch this. You can't read any
Yeah.
of that because I don't need you to read it.
Yeah.
The point is, I have a notebook. So this is I'm Mr. Tech in terms of I have apps that do all sorts of things, and I have some apps that on my phone I can type in something, I can talk into it, it'll give me a message, and I can do that. And I do that about 80% of the time. But I also have a piece of paper and a pen that's sitting around all the time. I think of something, and rather than pull up another app, I just write something down real quick, and then later I'll put it into my management system where I keep ideas and next things. So how I do it doesn't matter. What I hope to do is to say, here's the 6 ways that I do it, and you pick the one that works for you, and then you grow it and refine it over time. That's one of the things. What you do now is fantastic, but as long as it's serving you and doing it quickly, great. And then look at a way to do it better, because I want to cut the time. I don't use paper if there's a better way to do it at that point, but there are just moments where you're in something, and so who cares? That's all process.
Yeah, I think like we have a board on the door of this thing here on the other side of this door, and I write down what project and the date.
Okay.
That's all. Here's the book. Here's the date. It's due. I don't care about anything else. So if somebody sends me a note, says, "Hey Johnny, can you do a book?" I look at that thing. I say, "Well, I need that book." Then I may have to go back and look at my notes. How long it's going to take? Can I fit this in? I also do have. Here's the only tech crap. I do have a spreadsheet that I made up my own self.
Good.
I don't know how to replicate it. So every year I have to make it again because I don't know how to replicate stuff and not have the information in there. Maybe Don will help me. But it has the book title, who gave it to me, when it's due, how much per hour, when I turned it in, when I get paid, and I have that. So I know every year how many projects, if it's 40 books or 50 books or however many books, and I can see how much loot I made when I get paid, and I can look and say, "Oh, you didn't pay me." And generally they did, and I forgot to write it down or something. But I do keep a record of that kind of stuff. The problem with workflow isn't so much of you keeping track of who offered you. It's you keeping track so that you can say yes or no and actually be able to do it. As we discussed, nothing is worse than saying yes to Don for his book and find out you already said yes to me and you can't get it to Don in time. You already said yes. That's a problem. So whatever paperwork or CRM, whatever the hell it is, you need to make that work for you. That's what has to happen. As long, the putting it in blue or yellow or putting it on a spreadsheet or whatever you do, like Don, I've got my Johnny Heller notebooks all over the place, and some are filled with comedy notes, some are filled with other notes. I suck at putting them together and putting them into something else. So if I have a funny idea at night, I'll get up and write it in my notebook. And then in the morning I get, what the hell was that about?
Right.
So,
No,
but at least I wrote it down.
Yeah, you're tracking it. That's good.
Yeah.
The other thing you have, by the way, that what you just mentioned there, since you know the rate that you worked with that person last time, if they call you up, it's terrible if you were to say, "I'll do it, but you're $150 more per hour than what you told them last time." I mean, there has to be, if you know,
Yes.
but also flip it around. You had done one at a premium because that was it, and then they call you and they already know your rate, what you quoted last year, so you probably could bump it a little or bring it down. But
it happens all the time. Every offer I get, almost every offer I get, every offer I get is, "Here's a book for you. We want you to do it at $250. I'm like, what? Whoever said I was doing that? And I wrote back, and I'm not mean, but I said, I'm happy to do it. I can do it. Sounds great. Can you make it my rate, which is, and I tell them, and it's a yes or a no. And if once again, to be clear, if it's yes, we can hit that number. And it's frequently, if it's like hanging a random house, they'll say, let me just update it in the computer. So now everybody knows the rate, because they'll throw it out. You say, you want to work for $200? That's your rate. You say, no, it's got to be $500. Well, don't do that because you won't get work. But you know what I mean? So you pick the number that seems to work, or they say, we can't do that on this book. Then that's when Ray Conley's personality comes in. That's when, all right, and as I've said before, I say, all right, you know what? Great book. I don't know you. We haven't worked together. Let's not start off with a diva relationship here. I'll do it for you. But at the next book, if possible, I prefer that this is my normal rate. So can we shoot for that? And again, it'll depend on the budget of the book, but then you become someone who's willing to work with them.
Right.
And they say, and that, I think it's very important. Someone who understands that not every book has a budget. Yeah. There's only one book of the year, and all the rest aren't. That's all.
Uh-huh.
Well, you will keep refining over time, and that's so it doesn't really, it matters where you are right now, that you're doing it, and you're finding a way to do it, and then you constantly upgrade it over time. And the people that don't, so the part of the question though, if I'm a musician, when I did that full time for a living, you're constantly working on your reach outs, and even when you're busy, you're constantly working. The worst thing in the world is to not reach out for a while because you're busy with a book. You must find time in your day or your week, pick your time frame, to do the business parts of it, which are reaching out, because if you don't, you end up with this whole thing where you have a book. So during that book, I don't do any reach outs because I'm busy. And then I don't have a book. Oh, crap. And then you put out 400 reach outs because you don't have anything else to do at that point. And then you get too many of them. You're just you get in a habit. Most of us eat every day. Well, you kind of have to figure out reach outs ultimately become part of your daily or weekly, pick your time frame. You figure out what works for you and do it. And if that's not getting you enough work, guess what? You need to do more of it. And if it's getting you too much work, you might scale it back, but just don't let it ever go down to zero.
Be a big problem to have. Yeah. I do also to track my my reach outs and my relationships with producers and casting agents. I do use Evernote.
Okay.
And
I
have a page for
Right.
each casting director, and I put notes in there of when I emailed them, what they said back, when I emailed them again, when I followed up, and
Cool.
I think that works really well in conjunction with my email history, which if it ever goes away, I'm screwed. But I can say funny things.
Like most of us.
Yeah,
like most of us.
Karen Commons has got me using the Evernote. I like it, but sometimes I lose things because I forget. I don't know how to save it. I'm literally like everybody's dad with a new damn Betamax or something. I can't figure anything out. Here's Chris with a question about pre-production.
Do you have pre-production meetings with your authors, and how do you structure the agenda? You should spend a week getting that agenda together before you talk to an author.
Yeah.
Make it your agenda.
I would say that, rarely do you have an actual back and forth, like a telephone meeting with an author. But, I, like many other people, send a packet out initially, and in it has all kinds of things about, what the process is going to be like. But also, I asked them some questions at that point, including one which I find more helpful than I ever thought possible is, when you're writing this character, did you base him on anybody in particular? And if it's somebody who's well known, it could be an actor, it could be the guy's grandfather. You don't know, but they will often tell you, sometimes voluminously, what they were thinking when they created this character, and that's so helpful. One book I did recently, the author said, I really had the narrator, Arthur Morgan from Red Dead Redemption video game. That's the sound and the voice that I hear. Now, I'm not a big video game guy, never played Red Dead Redemption, but there's this thing called the interweb,
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Uh,
All the
and
kids are
I
using
went
it,
on there,
yeah.
and you could find clips from
Clips,
the
yeah.
video game
Yeah.
of this guy talking, and so I kind of got his way
Chris,
of
I will
talking,
say
and
that if you go, Chris, I know you're on the ACX, one of Don's 30,000 Facebook groups, the ACX narrator groups, there's a couple of them. If you ask, um, or ask Ray, so now you know him, would you mind sending me the packet? Because most of the narrators in that group are happy to share their introductory packets, what they send the authors. And all it does is set the ground rules, set the expectations, set the rules up front. And that's how the agenda is. Here's what you can expect from me. Here's some questions for you. And get all that together and make it and look at some packets and put together one that Chris shows your personality, not Ray's, but you can use Ray's as a template, or you can use Bill Lord's or anybody, or James Romick, anybody you want. Get somebody, you get a few templates to see what it looks like, adjust as you need, make it clear, and be a little wary that when you do this, make sure that you're not um, giving them carte blanche to direct you throughout.
right.
That's a danger. And you simply don't want to tread those waters because, like painters can really paint and authors can really write. They can't act necessarily. So you can't let them step into your realm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
And if
setting
you give them,
expectations.
go ahead.
Sorry, setting expectations is a big part of that packet because that's where you tell them, this first 15 minutes that I'm going to send you, that's when you can weigh in with all kinds of thoughts and character critiques and whatever. And we'll talk about it then. And once we settle on that, that's the end of your
Yeah.
creative input to this process.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, as we're getting close to the wrap up here, Johnny, do you have cool things coming up that you want to talk about?
Let me think. The only things coming up, I'm meeting with my good friend Paul Rubin on Friday to discuss. He wants to do a Chicago workshop. I want to go there once ice is gone. I don't want to get political, but I make sure.
Spring or summer.
Yeah, who knows when. And I have to have a meeting with Sean Pratt later this week, I guess, to set up some stuff for 2026. I don't think there'll be any workshops. As I mentioned, Joanna and I might be might be in a new place by the end of the year. So we're gearing up toward that. So all I've got is this exciting, I've got some great books coming up. There is a book out right now, The Gales of November, about the wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald by my friend John Bacon coming up. There's a Todd Goldberg book coming out that's great. And I'll be doing a wonderful The Maltese Falcon at the end of the year.
Oh,
So I'm quite excited about that.
Very cool.
Ray, anything you want to talk about?
Just keeping the nose to the grindstone, shoulder to the wheel. I hope to be getting a whisper room in the next few months. And really looking forward to that. Just
You want the sign?
get things a little quieter. I talked to Whisper Room, and they said the booth is good for like 1,400 to 1,600 books. So I think I still got some left in there. If
5 to go.
yeah. Damn. We got to negotiate price then.
Cool.
I need more than that.
All right. Well, I got a couple things going on this next
Yeah,
weekend.
Don, tell us the story.
This next weekend, I'm doing my first thing, which is called AI for voiceover and narrators. And there's so much controversy in this business. I just finally decided I'm going to tackle it head on. I've got some great stuff. I actually at Neener did some sessions on AI, and I mean, AI is the worst thing in the world, and it's the best thing in the world. And for productivity and some of the things we're talking about to track stuff and track your reach outs and all the stupid business stuff that we have to do, there are some really great tools out there. And even if you're not going to use them, you need to be aware. It's moving so quickly that this is going to be an ongoing thing. But this is my first one this weekend that I'm doing. And then, of course, I showed it off a little bit last week. I have something called Pre-Read, which does some book prep stuff that next week I'll be showing off. That's pretty wild in terms of what it can do. And essentially you can take a 10-hour book and in less than 5 minutes, you'll know a substantial amount about it so that if you read it, you already have your head in the right space. And occasionally for those people that are more experienced and you end up getting a situation, you have too many books and can't get them all done, this tool will help you be well prepared when you walk in to do that book even though you didn't have some time. So if you're curious about AI, this is an introduction. Of course, in an hour, this workshop, you won't know everything, but I think you'll be blown away at both what it can do for your business law and for your life. Just
Don, is it a live Zoom, or is it something you just?
it's a live session that will also be available. So if someone wants to watch the replay, then they can do it. Just like this show is live,
Okay.
but it will be live, so people will be asking questions. And this one's a hands-on one.
And when is it again? When is it?
It's this weekend, Saturday at 2:00 in the afternoon, Pacific time. So 5:00 Eastern, 2 Pacific.
I'll be there.
It's the first of that I'm doing. There's so much material. It's like scary. It's like a lot of other things. It's what am I going to leave out because there's too much good stuff to go over. But the point is, I think we all being creatives, need to be watching this space closely and working with it on the edges for the things that help us in other areas, so that we don't get run over by something inadvertently in a year or 3, because I'm watching this stuff grow, and some of it's pretty amazing. And people that don't take the time to get educated will struggle in a few years, because it's going to take over the low-hanging fruit. But it doesn't tell stories real well, but there's some things it does insanely well, and we need to use the good parts and we need to ignore the other stuff, but you need to be aware. Okay. And this is
Don, you're a wonderful, wonderful part of this community. What you do is just always amazes me. You're remarkably talented. So thanks for doing that for us. And thank you, Ray, for coming on the show today.
Thanks for having me.
Next week, we have the lovely Tom Jordan. The week after that, my good friend Christine Van from Curated Audio will be there, so don't miss that. And and there you go, right?
Yeah, as always, we look forward to seeing you on the wires. You have a great day. Bye-bye.
Bye, all. Thanks, Ray. Thanks, Don. And thanks, Lisa. She's always there.